So I'd say that the key message is actually threefold. The first message is that deals are hard. M&A transactions are already hard by their nature, and we don't need to make them any harder than they already are. And they often span many years, especially the complex ones. And so I think we have a real opportunity to be intentional about the culture that we create around these deals, that we can't just rely on the great culture of organizations, because often these deals start to take on a culture that could be a little bit more adversarial in nature, and they don't have to be. And so my takeaway is be intentional about that culture around that deal, be committed to creating that culture with intentionality, write guiding principles around what that culture should look like. Share those guiding principles with the working teams, the workstream leaders, and the organization. Take the opportunity to make specific decisions along the way that are in line with that culture that you're creating, and call out which guiding principles they might be reinforcing if they are reinforcing such guiding principles along the way. The other takeaway that I'd like attendees to have with them is that all deals have a very structured, sort of mechanical, tactical process that you'll be stepped through in order to execute that transaction. However, not all deals are the same. So take the opportunity to be bold, to be intentional, and really making those deals your own. And don't be afraid to challenge your advisors and create your own best practices that might work for your deal. So that way you are ensuring the successful execution of your overall objective. It really is a part of our overall equity story that we are a 117, at the time of spin, 117-year-old startup company. And the reason why we called ourselves that was because as we separated and unplugged from Kellogg, from Kellanova, we were able to selectively transform certain areas of the business, and we were able to take a white space to some of those areas. We also believe that that startup mentality encourages a more kind of scrappier, agile way to decision making, to driving growth and innovation across the company. And since we were a smaller, more focused company, selling cereal in a territory, in a single category, we really felt that we had an opportunity to change the way that we work as an organization. And so that's why we called ourselves a 118-year-old startup. So post-spin, we continue to work in a highly cross-functional, cross-company, collaborative way. And the ways that we're doing that, and the way it's showing up is, we both have our own respective governance processes. Kellanova is delivering TSA services, we're receiving them. We have a lot of TSAs to exit. Those two governance teams meet quite regularly to bubble up and solve issues very quickly, to identify opportunities to escalate exits or to exit TSAs in a really efficient manner for both companies. We also have a lot of TSAs that are in the IT space, IT systems and applications. And as we design those exits, because those exits can impact both companies, we design those exits, again, cross-company, cross-functionally. So our two IT teams meet regularly, workshop together. We borrow on the SMEs or the subject matter experts of both companies to make sure that we're designing an exit program that's going to be effectively executed by both companies. And I'd say lastly, we actually have a cross-company, cross-functional working team that has been working over the last year, 18 months, to separate our distribution network. And the importance of that team working together, working collaboratively, is to do two things. One, to make sure that as we're separating this network, it's a highly complex work stream, that we're keeping service to our shared companies top of mind, and that we're mitigating risk along the way. And so those are some of the steps that we're taking to make sure that that collaboration between the two companies continues post-spin closing, but also through all the way to the final exit of those TSAs. I think the biggest piece of advice I'd give is don't let the culture of the deal kind of get created without intentionality. Each deal has its own culture, and then if you don't set it with intentionality, then I think you're missing out on a real opportunity to more effectively achieve your overall objective. My driving factor is I think we can start to change the conversation around complex M&A transactions. As we met with many folks who have been through spin-offs before, we learned very early on that they do tend to take on a very adversarial approach. You usually have one company, leaders at one company making all the decisions on behalf of the other company, and the other company, just the spin-off company, ends up almost starting from a victim mentality mindset. And it doesn't have to be that way. You know, I mentioned that these deals are already hard. We don't have to make them harder. And I think that we can really start changing the conversation around how these deals get executed. And it really does start, I think, with the foundation of setting the right culture that's going to carry you through from the beginning of that deal announcement all the way through that separation, because it will be a multi-year journey, especially for those complex transactions. My favorite part is meeting all of the folks who are here. There's a lot of energy and excitement around the food and beverage space. I think there's going to continue to be a lot of energy and excitement, not just within this session, but even outside in the external environment. I'm also loving the reconnection with many of our folks that used to be a part of our program.